This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring a discussion on Quad Summit and its significance. The participants are Vara Prasad Shekhar-Dola, strategic analyst, and Sanjay Jha, journalist.
Japan was a pioneer in creating the concept of both the Quad and the Indo-Pacific area. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's speech to Parliament in 2007 entitled Confluence of Two Seas, which introduced this idea, although he did not use the word Quad specifically, but that's when the Quad came. With India's partaking, the Quad has been upgraded to a cooperation platform on global issues and has held regular ministerial meetings. Professor, what do you think the role of Quad in modern days?
The key role of Quad, which is essentially quadrilateral security dialogue, it aims to provide some kind of security stability within the global order and also very specifically within Asia. So it has essentially two key components to basically promote. It has essentially a twofold vision. One, a free and open international order, and the other one, free and open Indo-Pacific. So with these twofold vision, it is essentially committed to making substantial contribution to the world and also the region. In fact, if you look at the recent statement that actually encapsulates the essence of this forum, which is a practical cooperation in the four members, the US, Japan, India, and Australia. And I feel what unites and binds these four countries is the robust and vibrant democratic system that exists in these countries. And the present meeting, of course, is taking place, within this larger global context, which is witnessing a paradigm shift. And therefore, the paradigm shift is essentially about, the world in some ways evolving into two blocks, a kind of a democratic groupings and the non-democratic groupings. And it is this recent paradigm shift that actually provides the much needed impetus for this Quad to become very strong and making a substantial contribution to the global community, particularly within Indo-Pacific.
Joining the Quad has both advantages and disadvantages for India. Through the Quad, India can counterbalance China's growing presence in Indo-Pacific region, including its BRI Belt and Road Initiative, which has led to its building port facilities in countries neighboring India like Sri Lanka, giving rise to a sense of encirclement in New Delhi. With the Quad, India can rise above its middle power status and project its influence beyond the Indo-Pacific. Also, India's active policy and extended naval policy boost India's engagement in the Indo-Pacific. So, India coming on board of Quad, how strategically it has helped us?
I think India joining the Quad is definitely going to make a major difference in terms of the way India would position itself within Asia and also in the global international order. One of the advantages of joining the Quad, it shall provide a sense of security. It will actually strengthen its own national security within the region, particularly in the context of what we've been witnessing in our relations with China. The bilateral component between China and India is one, that actually is a key driving force that would actually contribute a great deal to the national security of our country. And this will also in some ways send strong signals to any country that probably, would pose some kind of a threat to our own national security. In fact, we've seen how China is known to have been advancing its own string of pearls, as the Western scholars, highlight. That has been, in a way, is a key concern for the Indian government. And therefore, in order to ensure that the national security is preserved, joining the Quad would be a great boost. And secondly, of course, India has put in place the Act East policy for quite some time, which is seen as a major initiative that has been formalized between India and a number of Southeast Asian countries, especially ASEAN and also ARF. And I would see that, joining Quad, would definitely help India in order to accomplish its own national interests. And of course, we've seen Chinese investments in Sri Lanka and how that is generally seen as one of the key factors in driving Sri Lanka into an economic crisis. Given this, I think joining the Quad would be a great level playing field in a way. And in terms of the disadvantages, I think I do feel that this probably could pose certain institutional constraints.
Professor Tola, one of the primary focuses of Quad is the Indo-Pacific region, and naturally when the leaders sit together, they would talk about developments in the Indo-Pacific region, challenges in the Indo-Pacific region, and the areas of concern. India is expected to maintain its autonomy and continues to be cautious about Indo-Pacific economic framework. What kind of challenges do we see in this proposed framework?
I think one of the major challenges that we see within the proposed framework of Quad is, the way in which East Asia has been evolving in the last few years. And key concerns is about the rise of China. So given the, rise of China, the Indo-Pacific region felt in some ways the need to evolve a forum that would actually address some of the emanating challenges. In fact, U.S. is very much present and active in Asia, given its own relations with Japan, South Korea, and many other countries. And similarly, Australia's relations within the region and our own active policy, all of these make the region quite imbued with several issues and challenges. And it is generally believed that Quad would actually provide some element of stability and element of security for the region. And even as the Quad highlights, the imperative for free and open international order and also free and open Indo-Pacific. And this forum would strive to accomplish this.
India has to obviously play a very important role with the challenges which is emanating. When Prime Minister Modi will meet with the leaders of four-nation Indo-Pacific Quadrilateral Alliance, the question of Indian naval power will lie at the core of their discussion. Faced with the rise of China, India is making significant investments in maritime security. India knows the United States won't alone carry the burden of securing the Indian Ocean. So the new aircrafts are being tested for its carrier fleet and new submarines are being inducted. How significant role do you see for India in the Indo-Pacific maritime security?
In fact, maritime security has emerged as an important element in a global order. Particularly India having very strong naval base and also naval force can actually play an important role given the way in which the Quad members are trying to come together and carry out a number of maritime security drills. What you basically find is that, yes, United States cannot carry the burden of ensuring stability within the Indo-Pacific region, and therefore it is necessary for the other countries to share that burden. And if you look at the global architecture, is essentially a shared responsibility. Even within the region, the regional stability has to be ensured by the regional powers. And I think it is here we do find India can be a part of this process of ensuring a maritime security within the region.
India has also gone beyond the Quad and has deepened its bilateral ties with the Quad members. With Australia, India has signed an information sharing agreement and a mutual logistics support agreement. Both countries have also participated in bilateral military exercises such as AUSSIE-INDEX, what we call Australia-India exercise, and AUSTRA-HIND, and have conducted dialogues on defense policy and maritime security. We have also recently seen India and Australia entering into a free trade agreement. So we see the ties deepening between two countries. Do you think the Quad is also enabling the country to have more deeper bilateral relations?
I think any forum that is forged will have both multilateral as well as bilateral components. So in this context, the Quad, which is essentially a multilateral forum, would definitely lead to strengthening of the bilateral components as well. And if you look at India-Japan relations, recently we've celebrated about 70 years of cooperation. In fact, Japan is one of the largest investors in India, contributing to our development. In fact, Japan invested about $30 billion in the last 10 years, and it also promised another $42 billion investment in the next 5 years. And this would definitely contribute a great deal to the strengthening and the deepening of cooperation within the bilateral context. Similarly, India-Australia, what we find is how Australia and India have signed the free trade agreement and also set up a number of institutions in especially Australia to strengthen our own bilateral relations. And we've also seen how Australia also promised to invest about 1,500 crores in the next few years. I think this would actually go a long way in deepening and also strengthening the bilateral components. And I think what I do see is that the bilateral cooperation would actually permeate a number of areas, especially, vis-a-vis Japan, given Japanese technological development in a number of areas, whether it is automobiles or chip technology or robotics and artificial intelligence. What we find is there is immense scope for deepening the bilateral relations. And I do believe that this Quad would actually facilitate the strengthening of bilateral relations among the four countries, India and US, India and Japan, India and Australia.
Professor, this Quad is really creating a big concern for China. Chinese foreign minister has criticized this Quad summit. China sees the Quad as an attempt to contain its economic growth and influence. Why is China so paranoid about this Quad? If you can briefly tell our audience about China's concern vis-a-vis the Quad summit.
China sees Quad as an initiative that is being forged against it. In other words, China sees Quad being set up in order to contain China. In fact, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi made certain remarks conveying the Chinese opposition to Quad and its success. And in fact, Beijing sees Quad as kind of a forum that is coming in the way of accomplishing its national goals, both in Asia and across the world. China essentially sees Quad as an initiative that is actually trying to constrain and contain China. But I think China doesn't have to really look at it in that particular lens, because what really binds these four countries is democracy. There is that element of these four countries coming together. And therefore, China has, of course, its own goal of strengthening its global footprint. And it views Quad trying to, in a way, put some spokes within that. But, we'll have to wait and see how Quad would evolve in the years to come and how the equations between China and the Quad would unfold.
Let's hope that the Quad as an organization is able to help us in achieving our maritime security, and Prime Minister Modi is able to reassure the world that India will not leave its claim in Indo-Pacific, and we will ensure safety and security of the countries around that. Thank you very much, Professor, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
You were listening to a discussion on Quad Summit and its significance. The participants were Varaprasad Shekhar Dola, Strategic Analyst, and Sanjay Jha, Journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on a mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.